just watched your video for Gangsta, which looks amazing. Kind of, that must have been, it's quite a different track for you in terms of chart and for a lot of your new fans as opposed to the old school fans that have been there from the beginning. Kind of how exciting was that to go back and do something that fresh?
Do you know what? It was real cool because when I was in the studio, I didn't once really think, let me make this because of this or that. It just, the beat came up and then that's the first thing I thought about talking about. So like, but after hearing it, when it was finished, it felt like really refreshing, man. Especially from, like you're saying, from like the chart tracks I've been putting out from the new fans, you know what I mean? Something real different for them is exciting, man.
Kind of the grime and that kind of scene has obviously been crossing over more and more. This is, from my point, the first time it's going to mass cross with, you know, slick video, budget spent on it. That's obviously quite exciting as well.
Yeah. Like you're saying, from it feels like right now everything's crossing over a bit more, and I think everyone's more focused this time around. It's not like people got more of a game plan and understand how things work better this time. So hopefully everyone sticks to that and it keeps growing and crossing over. But like I'm saying with this Gangsta track, there's a lot of things going on as well where people sort of get carried away with the like couple things that are happening. So I just had to state a few things just to clear a few things up.
And it's a track that's well done, and if it was put out in the States, it would obviously have loads of beeps and women, and you know, and it's avoided all of that. And was that quite important?
Yeah. When it came to like editing it, because a lot of there's a few swear words here and there on the track, and it's just like one of them things how I felt when I was writing it. Every time you're in the studio or whatever, I believe you just write what you feel like and never really think too deep about the afters of it. So I guess that sort of came in mind after to make sure you keep it, because you have to be aware of like who listens to it, your fans and everything, especially with the video and the visual and that. And like you're saying, if it was somewhere else, I might have a different look on it, but we wanted to make something different and more of a statement.
Definitely has a statement to it, which is great. What do you think the UK definition of gangster is?
The UK definition of gangster, I believe, is gangsters in the same meaning as everyone. But my meaning of it from where I come from is in gangster, like I'll say, oh yeah, like, I don't know, say your trainers look gangster, just like cool, do you know what I mean? And I'm saying, heard everything they're gangsters, and they got a couple sing-alongs with some anthems, and it's more like, do you know what I mean, like, people believe they're so cool because they've got this going on, but this is the realness of it. So that's our meaning of gangster, not necessarily like a gangster, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to clear up for your younger viewers.
Yeah.
So obviously you're not trying to reaffirm the gangster image.
Nah.
It's almost a term. It's not necessarily a bad way of life.
No, definitely not. It's not a term. It's not like a gangster as in being like a gangster who, if you know what gangsters do, say when you watch films and you see gangsters, but it's more of a thing where it's like a term of like, I'll say, there's always things where people say like that's not like people saying that's not gangster, do you know what I mean, or that's gangster, but it's just a term from where we've come from, and it's just basically another word of like that's not cool or this is cool, but that's better and that's that or that's this. It's just it's a different term.
So like a new term for bling, as in
I guess
type of thing.
Well, yeah, in another aspect, yeah, like bling came about like people saying that's blinging or whatever, do you know what I mean? But yeah, and another term, gangster.
And so obviously your younger fans might know that you know Tiny and kind of how that all came about. You know, was he your first pick to be in the video, and you know, was it quite exciting to do a track together? How did that come about?
Yeah, I had the track from the switch. That track's called Game Over with Tiny on it. That's like a switch into the video, and it's got Maverick on it. That's someone young who I'm bringing through. It's got Tiny on it. And I guess I'm gonna have another surprise someone on it from the scene or someone, but I'm not too sure just yet. But as it came about, like I heard the Ishi is from Sweden, the producer, and he must have made a track, and then I thought, yeah, I like this, and then Tiny had a verse on it, and I thought, yeah, I want to keep him on it, do you know what I mean? And obviously he's cool from like your sound from before I knew him, and when he was coming up, he's always been focused, man. So as someone who I didn't mind reaching out and, you know what I mean, putting him on a track with me.
And so obviously people, especially a lot of teenagers, don't realise that it's quite a scene, and all people know each other. You know, the first time they realise they know each other is when they're on a video together, for example. But you know, that's quite important, I suppose, to tell to young people that are coming through that, you know, making connections, kind of going to the right places. If that's kind of what you want to get into, then that's the only way to do it, isn't it? Yeah,
man. The only way you gotta socialise, I believe, and at the same time you gotta know who you're working with, because a lot of people might work together but the bond ain't really there. So, but to get out there, first of all, if you try and keep yourself to yourself too much, it doesn't really work, you know what I mean? I guess for some people that's the only way they know, but I believe the only way is to be like, just be open, man, you know what I mean? Reach out to people and hear what people have to do, and then two minds always work better than one, I believe, so that's the way you gotta look at things.
And when you were starting out in your career, kind of, you know, what's the best bit about where you are now? Because obviously back then it was about just kind of doing as much stuff as possible, and now you're asked to do so much. Is it now about performing live? Is it now about the studio? What's kind of the best part of being you?
I love performing, but studio's still the best part, man. When you're in the studio, vibe you get, and especially when you record a track and you get that feeling, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's just one of them things you can't explain, you have to go through it to know what I'm talking about. But like live is really close to being in the studio, but I guess before you create what you create in the studio, you can't get to live, so studio comes first for me, man.
And kind of obviously you mentioned that you're going to be bringing up people through the ranks. Is that quite important? Like, you want to help others that are in the industry and spot new talent and help it grow? Yeah,
if I can, and especially like I'm saying with Maverick, is someone, especially if I believe if you're talented, then there's a way which I can help in a way, do you know what I mean? Then I can do that. And people around me, we all grew up around music, and all my friends, they produce, we're in the same, like Roscoe, that's my people. And from when we was growing up, it's always like, we never really had many people older than us where they was like reaching out, and luckily for me, as I was coming up, when I was say maybe 15, Wiley reached out to me and helped me to a certain stage, you know what I mean, as in just even the knowledge of what he knew, speaking to him. So yeah, I believe to just share what you know in the slightest way makes a difference, man.
So you're 14, you're in your bedroom, you're absolutely obsessed with music.
Yeah.
How do they contact Tinchy Stryder? What do they do?
I don't know, man. Everyone can just get a number somehow, do you know what I mean? Just somehow my phone just rang one day, and then it was like, but then again, I guess like where we grew up in Bow, like Dizzy was like just a couple years older than me, and he was around with us, so, and he was with Wiley, so I guess he might have been the middleman through that, how that happened. So yeah, that's how he must have been even aware of us through Dizzy. Yeah.
And should people, what advice would you give to someone that's coming through the ranks? Should it be all about put your video up on YouTube, or create any kind of video to match your track, or is it still about MySpace? And
I guess it changes all the time. Right now, it feels like what you need right now, I guess online is real important right now. Visuals, you know what I mean? Like, there's blogs, there's Twitter. Like, everyone seems to have a Twitter. You sort of need to have a Twitter to be involved in the world and socialize and network. And I'll say, but really, if it depends what you're doing, but putting videos, like even the smallest budgets, and putting it online, visual really work these days, man. So yeah, that's the key, I believe.